What is this? If Starbucks is the only place open and I'm hungry, do y'all want me to starve genuinely? I don't know. What? Oh, God. Two of my least favorite subject matters, like No Cop City Marxist twink at username that I suspect is like leftier than thou type anarchist, posting on a quote, retweeting a Starbucks thing, which I don't even want to get into. Everyone's going to get mad at me, but like the whole Starbucks boycott stuff is just like, whatever. Anyway.
Some of the girls saying that it's too hard to not have Starbucks. And it's too hard not to have McDonald's. Do y'all want to know something? You know how they always talk about, like, I don't know, in medieval times or whatever the fuck.
Starbucks is not even on the BDS list. I know. It's like one of those things. It's like one of those things, like the Starbucks boycott or whatever. Is like one of those things where I just leave. You know, I want the lefties to have a little bit of a treat. You know what I mean? I want the lefties to have a little bit of a treat, so I just don't really talk about it that much, because I know people will get like super mad. But if you were to ask the average person like why they're doing boycott Starbucks or whatever, there's no way they know. The real reason why it popped off overall in America is because one of the Starbucks unions wanted to show solidarity with Palestine, and Starbucks corporate stopped it. They're like, no, you can't do that, right? That's where it popped off originally, and now people think like it's destroyed Starbucks' like revenue or something. I don't think it has, but it like grew into Starbucks globally. Like everybody hates Starbucks now, and I don't even know where it's coming from. But like it's one of those things where I'm just like, I'm not touching it. You know what I mean? If it were up to me, I don't really care one way or another about Starbucks. Like, so I don't know. You boycott Starbucks because you don't get the whole BDS thing, but want to have leftist bona fides. I boycott Starbucks because I work from home and make my own coffee. We're not the same. Yeah. But overall, yeah.
Wait, why y'all saying no Starbucks?
Even Kai's chat of Zoomers is like against Starbucks somehow, I guess. And I think it's literally because like for many, this has become like a rallying cry for being pro-Palestine. And I think it comes from TikTok. And I think it comes from Stan Twitter too. It's Stan Twitter and TikTok that basically said like Starbucks is the one. Starbucks is the one company that's like doing a tremendous amount of like damage. And I don't even know if there's like doesn't Starbucks support Israel? I don't think Starbucks supports Israel any less or more than like the average company does. Like all companies do commerce in Israel as well. Usually the BDS stuff factors in if we're talking about like Elbit Systems, like an Israeli weapons manufacturer, or a surveillance technology company, or a company like Caterpillar, that specifically designs things for the Israeli Defense Force, the Israeli occupying force to use, right? Like Caterpillar is on the BDS list since I believe 2005, since the Rachel Corrie murder, right? I'm mixing up my timeline here, but why is it on the list? Because they have an IDF-9 specific bulldozer that the IDF uses to bulldoze Palestinian homes and Palestinian roads, and that bulldozer was used to kill Rachel Corrie, an American activist. So that's the reason why it's on the BDS list. And then last but not least, there are companies that also operate within the West Bank. Like they build factories in the West Bank for cheap Palestinian labor and cheap real estate. And that's another reason why the BDS list will put them on the list specifically. Okay. Starbucks, as far as I understand, does not touch any of those things. Like, I don't think it's just probably pro Israel as just like every other company is, right? But yeah, that is. But regardless, Zoomers have decided, or TikTok has decided, that like Starbucks is one of those institutions that is worthy of boycotting for pro-Palestine. It's mostly culture war, I think. Here, these are the ones who are definitely on the BDS list. Hewlett Packard, which helps run the biometric ID system that Israel uses to restrict Palestinian movement. Siemens is complicit in his apartheid in Israel's illegal settlement enterprise. Puma sponsors the Israel Football Association. AXA invests in Israeli banks, which finance the theft of Palestinian land and natural resources. Israeli fruit and vegetables. SodaStream is actively complicit in Israel's policy of displacing the indigenous Bedouin Palestinian citizens of Israel in Negev, or Nakab. SodaStream has a long history of mistreatment and discrimination against Palestinian workers. Sabra Hummus is another one, probably the easiest boycott of all time. Because if you, I don't know, enjoy eating hummus, you probably shouldn't be eating Sabra anyway. It's gross. It's nasty. But these are the reasons, and these are the major. Ahava Cosmetics has a production site, visitor center, and main store in an illegal Israeli settlement. So, like, those are the major brands that BDS specifically pushes the boycott, right? However, overall, there's a larger list. Oh, here are the consumer boycott targets: AXA, Puma, Carrefour, Ahava, Remax, Siemens, SodaStream, Texaco, Chevron, Caltex. And then there are the divestment and exclusion targets. There are the pressure targets on Google, Amazon, Expedia, Disney, Airbnb, Booking, Tiva. And the organic boycott targets feature McDonald's, Domino's Pizza, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, Burger King, and Wix. Now, the organic boycotts are basically things that pop off. Starbucks is not even on this list, which they haven't really updated, I guess, to put Starbucks on the list. But it's just a thing. At the end of the day, it's not harmful to boycott Starbucks, so who cares? I agree. This isn't like this isn't for me to be like, I'm giving you permission to go drink Starbucks or anything. I'm just simply explaining. I don't personally care. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't care enough to be like, guys, chill out. Let's dial it back here or anything like that. I don't like that people are also like, if I can't have Starbucks, I'll die. That also frustrates me. But the major reason as to why the Starbucks boycott originally happened was because a union, a Starbucks union wanted to show solidarity to Palestine, and Starbucks corporate stopped them. That's it. Okay. I've also seen people say boycott Starbucks because they're union busters. I've had to explain to these people that you should only listen to the unionizing members and whether they're actually asking for a solidarity boycott. If you boycott unionizing companies just because they're anti-union, you're defeating the goals of the union members. Yeah. It's also a popular, visible brand to draw attention. I know. A lot of people get very mad about it. And it's like, I don't know how to, I don't have like a final opinion on this because in my mind, I do feel like it's I guess it's a demonstration of Palestinian solidarity. So that's good. Even if it's like misplaced against Starbucks, which is not necessarily a company that is like pro-Palestine anyway. Does that make sense? So, a lot of people say this kind of stuff, and here are even Zoomers in the Kai Cenat chat.
Whoa! Why I say no Starbucks?
Wow.
Boycott. But why y'all banning them, bro? Mods, who are y'all banning? Who's fuss about banning? I'm trying to read shit.
Wow, Aiden. Aiden, are you in here? How do you feel about your bot participating in the silencing of protest globally in one of the most important chats? It's basically the town hall for Zoomies.
They funding the...
This is so funny. Also, much respect to Kai Cenat for wearing a UPS t-shirt in solidarity with the union. You know, that's a Teamster through and through, you know what I mean? Anyway.
I gotta do my research, bro. So for the notice, I can't drink this. I'm gonna do my own research.
There's nothing funnier to me than watching a pressure campaign on like on a streamer who like very deliberately tries to remain apolitical, I guess, quote unquote apolitical, and then like when a big chunk of their fan base is like, you know, pro a particular position, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize it was like that. What? CEO targeted specific people at a union after October 7 and put targets on people at specific locations. I'm trying to find information that's easily digestible. Just drop the Starbucks topic, please. You are unintentionally using a trope. The left is perpetuating to discredit people criticizing Biden. Just stop. What? What are you talking about? I said that Starbucks corporate targeted specific Starbucks unions that wanted to show solidarity to Palestine. That is true. What does this have to do with Joseph Robinette Biden? This is yet another case of a chatter just basically repeating what I said verbatim in a shorter format, in a more reductive format, and then yelling at me over it, and I don't understand. Anyway, I have yet to witness any big material changes from boycotting and not buying stuff. People are so stuck in the whole capitalism thing. The only way they see is to get, see ways of consuming is to try and do something. Yeah, I guess. Bro divested his drinking choices. I mean, look, that to me, that feels kind of good. It's like, this is why I'm not yelling about it too much. Okay, this is why I'm not yelling about it too much. Why am I not yelling about it too much? Because, like, if Zoomers want to, like, if Zoomers are using Starbucks as a beacon of, like, showing Palestinian solidarity, and that's, like, one method that they can get people that they love, that they watch every day, to also show solidarity of some sort, even if it's misplaced, right? People on Twitter who have very large platforms use Starbucks as a way to discredit the entire pro-Palestinian movement as Zoomers following a trend they know nothing about. So just drop Starbucks, please. You're right, chatter. I should just drop talking about this instead of like trying to further elaborate on an issue. Anyway, like I said, the reason why I don't speak out on it, I guess, is because like even if it's misplaced, I guess, considering that all companies, just like Starbucks, play a role in like, I guess, being somewhat supportive of Israel, right? Ultimately, it's a way to demonstrate pro-Palestinian solidarity. And it's a way to get like a big streamer to basically say, oh, my bad, I didn't know it was like that. Right? I didn't know it was like that. My apologies. Right? Anyway. Hasan, you the biggest centrist out there. Does boycotting help anything? It can. It's just that it's just that boycotting on its own without like actual union power or without actual demands is often going to be disorganized. Like decentralized boycotts are ineffective. Okay? Starbucks has lost $11 million dollars in market value, and not because of the boycotts. Yeah, I think a lot of people were also claiming that Starbucks lost $11 billion dollars because of the boycotts, which I don't think is correct. Like, I don't think it was because of the boycotts, but I guess here it is. One thing is true: the Seattle-based coffee company is not having a bang-up time heading into the new year. Its share price has seen a sharp decline. Starbucks' stock is experiencing a historic losing streak. Data collected by third party suggests its foot traffic and sales may be falling short of Wall Street expectations. Has seen negative headlines and how it's handling relations with workers attempting to unionize, which I think is probably a bigger reason. Oops, what did I do? Many of whom walked off the job in its Red Cup day when it gives out free reusable seasonal cups. In addition, it has found itself caught in the crosshairs of the Israel-Hamas war after a pro-Palestine tweet from the union that prompted calls for a boycott on the right and the left, though analysts say it's hard to know the impact these calls are having on the actual business or the stock price. I don't think it's the protests that are driving this, says Sarah Sanatori, senior research analyst at Bank of America. The timeline on foot traffic declines don't really line up with the boycotts. Plus, Starbucks is no stranger to controversy. I think it's a combination of all of it. I think that it certainly played a role in it. Why was something like the bus boycotts and the civil rights movement so effective versus something like the Starbucks boycott, Jen? Great question. The Montgomery bus boycotts specifically were the Montgomery bus boycotts were very tangible, identifiable goals, right? It was associated with a civil rights movement that was significantly better organized. It was very targeted, and it had tangible, identifiable goals. Does that make sense? It wasn't simply like spontaneously deciding online that we were no longer going to be sipping on Starbucks or something like that, but instead, or, you know, Hogwarts Legacy. We're not going to play Hogwarts Legacy. That's in my opinion, one of the best demonstrations of like a consumer product that was silly to boycott, because it wasn't direct. It was a very indirect way of criticizing a very specific person that had created the IP, but the IP itself wasn't transphobic, and the video game itself wasn't transphobic either, and it was like associated with transphobia due to the person that was benefiting from it, you know, J.K. Rowling's, right? One of the most prominent TERFs online. But to the broadest majority of the public, like they don't know or care about J.K. Rowling, or they just want to play wizard game that makes them feel like kids again. So that was a very ineffective boycott movement, right? Because there was no tangible goal associated with it either. Because if the ultimate goal was to get people to be aware of J.K. Rowling's transphobia, then there were probably better ways of utilizing the popularity or capturing the popularity of the Hogwarts Legacy and simultaneously getting people to learn about it, right? And that was something that I presented ahead of time. That was something I presented ahead of time. That was something I tried to explain ahead of time as well. Boycotts are basically creating a mass ultimatum for brands and companies. We will not continue buying X until you Y. If you just say the first part without the ultimatum part, there's absolutely zero motive for that company to change their ways. Exactly. Sometimes they might not even know what to change their ways for. But I see the Starbucks, like the Starbucks boycott in and of itself, as a lightning rod, or as a signifier that you are, demonstrating Palestinian solidarity. So ultimately, it's not the absolute worst thing, I guess. The explanation of what's happening with Starbucks is actually kind of boring. The long and short of what's happening is that investors believe things aren't going as well as they would. The company had a strong quarter in July, September. Same-store sales in the United States were up by 8% because of pumpkin spice latte. They got a sales boost. And then in October, December, some data suggests Starbucks isn't doing as well, or at least not as well as expected. Starbucks' Red Cup Day saw just a 32% boost in foot traffic compared to 81% in 2021. That most likely is a consequence of the union, by the way. According to data provided to Vox by Memo, a media tracking and insights company, the readership on news related to Starbucks' Red Cup Day was much higher in 2022 than it was in 2023. Workers walked off the job in both years, and readership about that declined too, though to a lesser extent. Last year's success with Red Cup Day was partially driven by increased awareness around it as an event. And even then, it's not like the workers walking off the job in higher numbers than they did the year prior. It's still about media coverage around it. Not getting enough, natural or not getting enough organic media coverage around it. Disorganized boycotting can work. What the F? I don't agree with that. I don't know a single instance of a disorganized, decentralized boycott that has ever actually worked. What is the aim of this talk? What are you trying to achieve? Demoralize people? Is that what the Palestine coverage has come to? Yes. My goal is to try and demoralize people and to stop them from protesting for Palestine. You've caught me. This is precisely the reason why I have never ceased my coverage and have continuously covered Israel's acts against humanity over and over and over again, every single day, continuously, sometimes for 8 to 10 hours a day, uninterrupted, since October 7. Hasan is so annoying sometimes, he says. True. So, my point is that even if this wasn't the most successful boycott, or even if this wasn't against the best target, I still see value in it because I see it as a demonstration of solidarity. You know what I mean? That's my point. So overall, I see it as a positive because I see Zoomers in Kaisen Ash chat being like, oh, Starbucks is funding genocide, and that's why you should no longer, what are you doing? You're drinking Starbucks. Like that, to me, what's significant there isn't necessarily boycotting Starbucks, because I'm sure they will be fine. It's more so that there is a social awareness and a demonstration of solidarity caused by social media that has decided that I guess Starbucks is the beacon of BDS when it's not. But it doesn't really matter because people are still saying that you should criticize products that we have associated together online with Israel. Okay? That's it. How is that different than what people wanted out of the Hogwarts boycott? The point was to show solidarity with queer people, specifically the trans community. Because the video game, because Starbucks, much like every other company, at least is still associated and has done something that is like anti-Palestine. Whereas, and it's an ongoing genocide. Whereas Wizard Game is not even remotely associated with transphobia in the eyes of the broader public. That's my point. And there are also varying degrees of need when it comes to Palestine, something that I have regularly talked about, even far before this, because I've been covering Palestine for a very long time. Something that I've talked about this before is that for Palestinians, like things that you would do for white supremacy, to combat white supremacy in America, are very different for what you need to do for Palestinians. Awareness in and of itself in other circumstances, like throwing up a black fist for BLM, is not going to move the needle in combating police brutality, right, in the United States of America. But actually simply showing solidarity in that regard for Palestine is actually good, because there's different levels of need. Does that make sense? Because many people in America know that, like, police brutality is a thing. They sometimes think it's good. They sometimes think it's bad, but they know it's a thing. Many people in America, until recently, were not even aware that the Palestinians were being genocided, or that the Palestinians lived under an apartheid regime, and still to this day don't even believe it. So your goal is awareness. And this is something that Palestinian activists will tell you, Palestinians on the ground will tell you, is to never stop talking about Palestine, right? If you recall, one of the things that they were saying in the immediate aftermath of October 7 was not to even raise money or funds, but to just simply talk about what is going on and tell people about what is going on in Palestine, in Gaza specifically. Okay?